Welcome to episode 64. Woohoo! So, this is the third in a series of three, which I think actually is going to turn out to be a series of four, called Success from the Inside Out. Today, we are going to talk about embracing failure. And I get it. This one probably already gives you a little bit of hives. This is actually this series of things is part of a talk I give in public. And when I give this talk in public, this is the part where people like cringe and start to like hide in their shirts and won't look at me because this is the really uncomfortable part of talking about success. But we can't talk about success without talking about embracing failure. So that's what we're going to do. Before I start, though, I want to tell you two quick things. If you are not in my Facebook group, which is called Teachers in Business, you should be. Come join us. And if you're not on my email list, when you join the group, drop me your email and you can join there. My emails are super helpful and full of good things. The second thing is in April, I am going to be running a free training workshop all about how to sell without feeling icky about it. This is something I talk about quite a bit with clients. This is something I think about quite a bit as a coach. And it's really something I am deeply passionate about. I think there is, particularly for the teachers of the world, the helpers, the people that are here in service to others, there is a big giant sales machine out there that people try to teach us how to use and doesn't feel good to us. So when we try to use it, it feels gross and we don't like it. And so we don't do it. And then we don't sell things because we don't like it and it feels gross. And this training is all about not doing that. This training is going to be all about, noticing the machine for what it is and in choosing something different, because there is a different way. I use it. I teach my clients to do it. I share it in my group all the time, and it works a lot better for the helpers of the world. So keep your eye out in my Facebook group, on my email list for those things. I'll talk about it here on the podcast. But to get access, you're going to need to be on my email list. So let us talk about failure. So failure is the key. I hate to tell you this. And today I'm going to make the case for embracing failure rather than avoiding it. And I know that you logically already know this is a good idea. But what you don't notice, I think, is that you're like, yes, embrace failure. Okay, I don't want to do that. So I don't. So I try really hard not to fail. The thing is it's impossible not to fail. Like there's no world in which we live in which we don't have 50% failure and 50% success. So you're already failing. And what you don't realize is you're already doing a better job of embracing failure than you know. And so when you know this about yourself, it gets a whole lot easier to embrace it effectively because it's already a part of what you're doing. So let's talk about how to embrace failure. So the thought shift we're making here, because all of these have been about thought shifts, right? If you've been playing along, the thought shift we're making today is from I'm afraid to fail, because most of us are like being afraid to fail is normal. We are all afraid to fail. But the shift is from I'm afraid to fail to failure is the foundation of my success. Ultimately, this piece is really about resilience. It's about how to build from where you are to where you want to be. So, the key question here that I think we all have to ask ourselves, and it's not a fun one, it is and it isn't. The key question, though, is what version of failing are you most afraid of? And when I ask this in live trainings, people are like, "Oh my God, don't ask me that." They like can't look at me. They won't look up from their papers. They'll like write down the question and then they're like, "Nope, don't look at me." And here's the thing, like I don't make people answer this in public unless they want to. But what I will tell you is a story of mine. And then I have one about a client that she shared with me that she's okay with me sharing. So for me, the most the version of failing I'm most afraid of is probably something that you guys all have, which is public failure. And I will tell you, this is something I have done. Like I have had the public failures, and in some of them have been more public than others, right? So for me, one of my most vivid failure memories happened in a conference room in front of a ton of people. It was way back a billion years ago, a lifetime ago, when I was coaching teachers. And part of that role was leading summer workshops. So we had had our first summer workshop. We had created it from the ground up, my partner and I, with a couple other people. And the next year, we would go to this. Basically, the way it works is you went to a retreat, a planning retreat with all the leaders from across all the school districts and all the facilitators and all the district peer personnel and all these people. And you planned ahead a little bit, and then you presented your ideas to this group, and they like yay or nayed you. And so the year before, we had built this thing and it was really successful and it went really well. We were like, cool. So ahead of this planning retreat, we sat down and we agreed what we wanted to do. And so we went to the spring retreat and we had our they called it a critical friends meeting. And so we had our critical friends meeting with all the leadership. And basically, we got up and shared our plans that we were like super proud of. And they were like, cool, yes, that's garbage. It's not going to happen. Go back and start from scratch. And P.S., we expected better of you. And I'm sure you right now can feel what I felt right then, which was like, oh my God. Because not only was it public and embarrassing, but like it hurt because we had thought we were on a good track, and oh God. And when I want to say it was like delivered more nicely than that, I mean, it probably was, but in a lot of ways, they were into like the truthful, honest feedback. So maybe not. And I will say that at that time, my partner and I, the people I worked with, I remember sitting out in the hallway in this like hotel conference room complex and like talking about whether we decided to go home right then. Like, do we want to leave? Do we want to bail on this? Like, fuck this, we don't want to do this. And it was like, okay, hold on. So we like shook it off and we went back and we started over. But we had to start over basically in front of all the people. And God, it like makes me sweaty to remember it right now, because everything we thought was going to work wasn't. And so, I felt ashamed a little bit. And we really did talk about leaving, but we didn't. So eventually we went back and we started again and we took the feedback. He sort of graciously, I want to say, but I don't know. I don't really know how gracious we were about it. I think we were eventually, but initially, I don't know. And we got more feedback. We had more critical friends meetings. There were some bad words, and we built something in the end that was much, much better. Now, I think we've all had experiences where you were like, what do you mean my first draft is garbage? And then somebody helps you see it again. You do the next one, and you're like, oh yeah, first draft was garbage. But it's hard to hear. And so, this it felt like in that day, in that room, like an epic public failure. But ultimately, a couple of months later, it wasn't. And I think that's the thing about failure, right? Failure is the building block of success. We build the next best thing out of falling on our faces. And it sucks, but there is no giant success without giant failure. I was just talking about this to a friend yesterday. And we were talking about how out on the internet, you see all of these people that are like succeeding so big and everything is going so well. And they made like $1 billion in 5 minutes. But what they don't tell you is they've also lost $1 billion 5 minutes before. Like, these are the people that have publicly flamed out, that have had other businesses go ridiculously badly. Like, I know a coach who charges $50,000 to work with people for a year, and he has also gone bankrupt twice. So like he has really big successes and also like catastrophic failures. And so I think that there's something to be said for that. Like if you want the big giant success, you also have to take the big giant risks. That's how it works. One of the other versions of this, like, what are you most afraid to fail? Like, what version are you most afraid of? Is what one of my clients and I talk about all the time. It's that people will think a certain thing about her. Like, she sometimes goes to post on the internet and is like, well, I didn't say it quite like that, like I would normally say, because I don't want people to think X. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm just here selling to them. I don't want people to think that I am trying to sell to my friends. I don't want people to think X, Y, or Z. And here's the thing that I have to answer this for you. Like, there are going to be things that people think of you that you don't like. And I think we all know that. But the thing that I find really freeing in here is that no matter what I'm worried about, what people will think about me, someone has already thought it. Now, think about that for a second. Think about whatever it is that you're afraid people will think of you, that you're selling to friends, that you don't know what you're doing, that you're not qualified, that you don't have any right to be doing this, that like whatever your version of this is, or 10 versions of this is, someone has already thought it about you. Like they have already thought whatever that terrible thing is. And you did not expire on the spot. Your limbs did not fall from your body. Your hair did not fall off your head. You did not die from it. You didn't even know it happened. Probably it's somebody you know and they still smile to your face and love you. But they have thoughts that you don't like about you and you didn't die. So here's the thing. That's going to happen again. That's a part of business. But are you willing to let people think things about you that you don't like in order to serve the people you want to serve? Because I am. And I and I have had people like unprovoked. I say unprovoked, but like I share things on the internet and I have people respond to them. I probably have a couple a month at this point that come at me and are like, how dare you talk to teachers about leaving and doing something else? Like, who do you think you are, taking teachers who are good out of the system, encouraging them to lead businesses when they're not qualified to do that, blah, 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 blah. Like, I have people say stuff like that to me, but you know what? They're not my people. They're not why I'm here. So that's not what I do. And that's going to be the same for you in any business context, in any leadership context, in any outside of what you're doing right now context, because there are going to be other people in your world that have thoughts about change that don't fit you. Years and years ago, my husband was transferred. We live where we are now because he was transferred for his job. And before this, we lived very like 2 towns over from where my husband grew up. We had a great house. We had a great little neighborhood. We had lots of friends. All his friends from high school were very close by. And when we got news that his company was being bought and they were like, okay, you can move or you can go find a new job, I would say 7 out of 10 of the friends we had at the time, and we are friends with those people still, but I would say 70% were roundly horrified that we would think of moving away. We didn't move across the country. We moved like 2 hours west. We didn't move that far. They all still see us. But, like people that I worked with in the school system were beside themselves that I would leave a tenured teaching job, that I would leave coaching teachers, that I would leave the position I was in. They were floored when I said I was leaving. And they were like, are you insane? But you know what? This is the best thing we ever did. Really, truly, it's one of the best choices we've made for ourselves, for our family, for finances, for 1,000 things. And yet, a good 7 out of 10 of people who loved us and who still love us were like, man, that's a terrible idea. So you are going to have people that don't get it. You're going to have people that don't like it. We had friends that didn't talk to us after we left, that could not wrap our heads around it. And it was like, well, okay, that's their thing though, and not mine. I had to do what I had to do. We had to do what we had to do. People are going to have thoughts about you. So, one of the things I like to think about this as is in pictures. So, it's a little hard to express you this picture in a podcast, but there's this thing I have on social media. It's in my book. The book is called Just Keep Going. You can get it on Amazon. It is one of the charts in that book. And it's called the success pyramid. And if you imagine like a pyramid of bricks that has 4 levels, there's 4 on the bottom, then 3 on the next level, then 2, then 1 at the top. Success is the top brick. But what it is created of underneath that top brick is all the things that we don't want. It's made up of mistakes and disappointment and embarrassment and risks you took and small fails and big fails and learning and adjustment. And also, like, the accidental victories, the times where you're like, I'm going to do this thing. Oh God, that worked. And I didn't mean for it to. I really did expect that to fail, but it didn't. It's created of all of that. Your success is built on all of those things. So if you are trying to avoid the ugly stuff, the failures, the disappointments, the mistakes, the embarrassment, all of that, you're also avoiding success. You cannot avoid failure because of failure is the foundation of success. Ultimately, this thought shift, this shift from I'm afraid to fail to I'm embracing failure to failure is the foundation of my success is about resilience. This is part of how you go like, you know what? I am going to fail. Things are going to hurt. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to get back up. Knowing this, knowing that you were resilient, knowing that you're going to get back up when you fall down is a key to helping you move forward because you're going to need to pick yourself back up. Like I had a client the other day say to me, but you know what? That's scary. So how do I do it when it's scary? And I just sort of looked at her and it was in a group coaching call. And one of the other members of the group said, you know, the answer to that. And I kind of laughed internally, but the other member of the girl that was asking, the woman that was asking the question said, oh, I'm scared and I just do it anyway. Yeah. You're scared and you just do it anyways. Man, I feel you. I'm here in this with you. I'm scared and I do it anyways. But if you know it's okay to fail, if you know you're going to get back up, you don't need to procrastinate or be perfect or wait or do any of those things that we talked about back when we were talking about stuckness. You just need to step back up and keep going. That's it. So this is about embracing failure. So ask yourself, what kind of failure are you afraid of? What are you afraid people are thinking of you? And how can you embrace that? Like, what are the big risks you want to take? What does that look like? How will it feel? And then if you're like, oh God, I don't want to do this alone. This is what coaches do. This is what I do. Please come talk about coaching. Come have a free 1-hour call. Let's talk about what you're afraid of. And maybe at the end of the call, you're like, you know what? I feel better. I'm good. Great. Cool. Go with grace. Go on in your day. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I really do need a partner in this. And that is what I do as a coach. I stand by your side and I remind you what you are capable of. And then I help you go do the scary thing because I know you don't want to come back and tell me that you didn't. That's what clients tell me all the time. They're like, I did it because I didn't want to tell you I hadn't done it. So we all need that kind of accountability. I have the same with my coach. We all need someone in our corner. LeBron James has people in his corner. All of the people at the top of the business world that you see, the people with those huge epic successes, they have coaches. They have people in their corner. They spent money on themselves and their business. And yeah, I understand when you don't have the money. I paid for my first coach with money I didn't have. I hear you. It went on a credit card, but it was still the best decision I ever made. And I appreciate the situation, but I also know the difference it makes. And I would not try to tell you about this difference if I didn't believe in it. And I didn't know the power of it. I see it every day in the work I do. Coaching makes a huge difference. I, right this very moment, have one group spot open for a group that starts April 1st, which is very soon. So if you would like to talk about it, you should send me an email at sarah@torpycoaching.com, or you should come on into my Facebook group and tag me, or like send me a Facebook message or a LinkedIn message. And I have 2 spots open for one-on-one coaching, but that's it. Like I'm almost at the edge of people. So if you want to talk about one-on-one coaching, please send a message, send an email, go to my website, which is torpycoaching.com, book a time to talk, please. It is the best choice you can make for yourself. And if you are like, you know what, I just need to be coached right now. I need one bite of coaching. I need 90 minutes for somebody to talk me out of my own way. And then I need to move on. We do that too. I have little one bite coaching sessions. They are $197. You get 90 minutes of me coaching you to death and no sales pitch. It's just me and you and coaching, and then you get to leave. So if you want to do any of those things, please hit me up. And then if you want to buy the book that goes with the series, please, 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 it's on Amazon. I will link it in the show notes. It's called Just Keep Going. And you should do just that. Just keep going. And I'll see you next week.